What is up, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. It's time for episode 28 of Guardians franchise, and we are in the playoffs. We've got a 5-game set against the Boston Red Sox coming up after a bit of a meltdown. Again, I don't want to go choke. I don't even really want to go meltdown. But we lost the division in kind of disappointing fashion. I mean, we won 100 games, and here we are playing in the first round because that's just how it is with Baltimore. You know, both these teams are really good, ours and theirs. So they get 104 wins. They catch fire when they need to down the stretch. When we get a little cold, all of a sudden we're playing in the first round against Boston, a team that is very much competent as well. And there's been a through line during this season about how they were projected to be the top dogs at the beginning of the year. If you'll recall, in fact, both projection sets, the ones before spring training and the ones after, really liked Boston. And so that always caught my eye, and I've been kind of following them throughout the year. They were down a little bit, but they too were kind of just lying in wait and then got going down the stretch. 16-12 in August and 18-13 in September, October. They've got a blistering offense. You see first, second, third in all the key categories except for fifth in home runs, which is still good. They do strike out a lot, 13th in strikeouts, but they're not much of a running squad, which makes sense. For a mashing offense like that, you don't usually see those teams running a bunch because they don't have to. The pitching side's a little interesting here. They've got the third best bullpen ERA, but 13th for starters. And then they're 10th in runs allowed, but first in WAR. I am struck by that. You know, their strikeout and walk rates or totals are decent. 5th for walks, 7th for strikeouts. Their defensive efficiency is rough. It's at 13th, but then their zone rating is good at 6th. So I don't know. They got some things going on. I'm curious on the first in WAR situation. It just must be that the bullpen is kind of carrying the starters, or some of the starters have higher ERAs but good skills. In fact, let's get into that. Let's start with the pitching. Usually we start our rundowns with hitting, but I'm a little bit more intrigued by the pitching here. Their ace is Walker Buehler, who is still a control artist at age 33, but not coming off a great season. 4.73 ERA, 1.26 WHIP, competent, capable, but not studly, and only a 4.38 FIP. So the underlying skills are not blistering to the point of like, oh, he's been much better, but he is still good, can definitely go for a gem pretty much any time out. He is not compromised to the point where we expect Buehler to be bad. Then they have Brayan Bello, who put up a 3.28 ERA, 1.22 WHIP, so he was good. He was kind of their best starter, at least by surface stats. And then you look at underneath the hood, 3.49 FIP, still pretty good, keeps the ball in the park. Solid control, not too much on the stuff, and then BABIP can be an issue. And as you can see, this year it was 2.99, which is certainly capable. That's fine. 3.74 last year really sank Bello's season. So, you know, he's going to allow us to put the ball in play. He's an extreme ground ball guy. We're going to need to collect some hits off of that because the long ball isn't necessarily going to be their 0.6 homer 9 this year. That's going to be a tough part against Bello. Kodai Senga's their number 3, 4.24 ERA, 1.54 WHIP. 1.54 is a super high WHIP, 4.50 FIP. So again, I'm not really seeing the underlying competent, capable starter, but nothing terribly special. Jose Quintana has a 5.04 ERA, 1.33 WHIP, but a 4.19 FIP. So there's a pretty big discrepancy there, almost a full run, suggesting, okay, he's better than the 5 ERA guy that they had, but still a high WHIP, still putting on base runners, creating opportunities for us if we can cash them in. And then Josiah Gray is their number 5, and don't forget, earlier in the season, I want to say it was in July, we had a little brawl that Josiah Gray was part of. In fact, I think it'll be in the news here. Don't they keep that stuff? Boom. It was in June, suspended 4 games after ejection following a brawl. That was with us, y'all. Let's go back to June 7th very quickly and show you that we scrapped. And it was Namgung. So let's keep tabs on that. Should we go to a game 5 and Josiah Gray gets in, maybe there'll be some bad blood there. But he's pretty competent. 3.94 ERA, 1.20 WHIP, but a 4.76 FIP. And the reason I keep citing the FIPs is because WAR really looks more at the FIP than the ERA, for example, because FIP is trying to quantify your skills into one metric that is on the ERA scale. So if you have a great FIP and a bad ERA, what that is generally telling us, obviously each case is different, you need to look into it, but what that is generally telling us is that your core skills, your strikeouts, walks, home runs are pretty good, but then you've been giving up more runs than maybe you quote unquote should, or more runs than is normally given up with this particular skill set. But Gray goes the other way. He's been fortunate. For somebody with a 19% strikeout minus walk, which isn't too bad, but a 1.7 homer 9, that's the killer. He's lucky to have a sub-4 ERA. Homers are how we get Josiah Gray, just like real life Josiah. He's got a major home run issue. Now this fancy pants bullpen that has the third best ERA, let's see what they got going on. We'll sort by innings as we always do. And we see that Adrian Martinez was a starter for them for a lot of the year. 20 starts, 18 relief appearances, with modest results, because he's a home run machine, actually a hit machine too. He's just not that great. So I don't know how prominently he'll be featured in the bullpen. You can see he's here in the long relief, but he just has the most innings, and that's how we're looking at it. Raisel Iglesias and Keenan Middleton, both at 81 innings, and both pitched very well this year. Matt Strom is their big lefty. Actually, Yuki Matsui is their big lefty. Matt Strom is their secondary lefty. And he was not great this year. 6.48 ERA, 1.49 WHIP. I think he was a free agent target. That's why his name was capitalized. But not so good. Not so good for him. We'll see how much they lean on him in high leverage spots. Scott Barlow, 66 2/3 innings of capable work, but a 12% walk rate is scary. And then Matsui, I mentioned he is their number one lefty because he is their closer. He did get 24 shutdowns, 8 meltdowns. I don't know how many saves he got because I don't have that as a primary category that I care about. 25 saves, because I'm not playing fantasy, right? So I don't really care as much. Shutdowns and meltdowns matter to me. 2.35 ERA, but a 1.26 WHIP. That is more base runners than you would normally see from a 2.35 ERA, telling me that there's some opportunity there, and it comes via the walk, 14% walk rate. So if we're going to get to Matsui, say we're down late and we need to get to him, patience will be the key. Don't go in over eager against him. Wait for him to, come into the zone, or take the walks that he's going to give, and then, get those free passes. And then Will Vest had a great season, 51 innings with a 2.81 ERA, 1.05 WHIP. And then Kevin Ginkel-Biloba with 45 innings of a 6.25 ERA and a 1.61 WHIP. Okay, it's a haves, have-not situation. I was going to say, where the hell did their good ERA, bullpen ERA come from? But it's 3 guys with an ERA over 6, but then 5 with a mid-3s or better. So that checks out. Plus, a lot of Adrian Martinez's work doesn't count because he was a starter, and he did have a 4.25 ERA in the bullpen. So, okay, that all checks out. They're pretty good on the pitching side. Nothing overpowering, but competent. So if we don't take advantage of the flaws, we could be in trouble, because we can't let the pitching overperform, because we know the offense is going to be scary. Let's take a look at it. Remember, here are the ratings again, strong. And now here are the players that are doing those ratings, or that are delivering those rankings, I should say. And we go around the horn as we always do. We start at catcher. Kyle Teal is their number one catcher, 113 at WRC+, about 3 wins. Very, very good player. Leader, he brings it all. He's the kind of catcher that we would love too. And so we're not surprised to see Teal doing well. Alejandro Kirk is their backup. 107 OPS, WRC+, 1.1 WAR in just 41 games. That's really nice. They have a really dynamic catching combo. Rafael Devers has moved over to from third to first, which will eventually happen. In real life too, he's still putting up 3 to 4 win type campaigns. He's still an absolute god. He's got the sickest birthday in the world. Devers is a stud. Vaughn Grissom is their second baseman, and he has rounded into a very competent player. Plays about 100 games, 100 last year, 107 this year, so looks like he gets platooned a bit, or maybe missed time due to injury. I don't know. Actually, it looks like injury was the key this year. I don't know what happened last year. I'm not going to go back into the injury history. We don't need to get bogged down. But he's played about the same number of games each of the last 2 years and been about a 2.5 win type player. Very, very strong player for them at second base, Vaughn Grissom. Ceddanne Rafaela is a defensive stud. Actually, he got a little bit of a short shrift in this one with only 55 range. I understand him to be very good range-wise, both in the outfield and infield. So I am surprised that it's 55. Maybe it has evaporated some because he's also fragile. So maybe some injuries have taken him down. But I think, Rafaela that exists in real life today is at least a 65 range in the outfield and 60 in the infield. To me, to my eye, my non-scouting, blind as fuck eye. But I think he's an amazing defender. Hitting is where, how good of a player is he going to be? Is he going to be a competent back 10 of the roster player, somewhere in that 17 to 26 range, if you're ranking your players 1 to 26, or can he be in that front 2/3 because he's bringing something of a bat? And he's another one of these guys, because his defense is so good, that the bat doesn't need to be amazing for him to be a standout player. I mean, just look at last year. He put up a 128, which is splendid, and so he put up 3 WAR in 114 games. He is the kind of guy when he has the defense that he deserves. Again, I think this 55 is a bit light. He might deserve it for our world, but in today's real world, I think he only needs to be about a 90 WRC plus type guy to deliver big value. Marcelo Meyer is at short, and he's a god. I mean, there is no two ways around it. A Meyer-Devers 1-2 punch is devastating, and it leads this team for sure. Meyer had a 7 WAR campaign, his best yet. We're catching the best of Marcelo Meyer without a doubt. Roman Anthony, another big-time prospect in the Boston system right now in real life, has come up in this universe and become a nice player. Nice 2-3 win, very capable corner outfielder, strong bat. I think this bat even has more to it, if I'm being honest. He's capped out at 23 homers, although that was in 106 games. He hit 22 this year in a full season. He's got 60 power, 70 I. I wouldn't be surprised if he could put up like a 30-plus homer season with a 400-plus BABIP, a 400-plus OBP. Maybe a 400-plus BABIP if he goes crazy one year, but you don't usually project that for even the best BABIP guys. But I did mean to say OBP because of his eye. So Roman Anthony, really good player and still just 23 years old. Jose Siri out in center, another one of these classic guys that if he can just be 80 to 90 WRC plus, you're getting 2 to 3 WAR, because his defense in center is so good, and that's exactly what he did this year. 1.8 WAR, rounded up to 2, because he put up an 86 WRC plus and brilliant center field defense. Braden Montgomery, a real life Red Sox, which I mentioned a couple episodes ago, how the synchronicity of them taking him at 12 in real life now matches up with our universe, and he has a chance to be amazing, both for them in real life and so far in our universe here. 3.3 WAR in his rookie season, 149 games. I think it only gets better from here. So we are seeing why this offense is ranked so highly. I mean, you look at it at the top there with Meyer, Devers, Montgomery, and then their last guy, DH Tristan Casas, who put up a 135 WRC plus, basically carbon copied his last season from a rate standpoint, but did so in, he did the same thing he did last year, but he needed more games to do it. So I'm tongue twisting myself, but I'm trying to say he's actually worse this year while still putting up an excellent season, because if you pace out what he did last year, he would have had, an even bigger year. Bottom line is, though, 41 homers, 104 ribs, absolute monster. Here's what I noticed. 3 of the 4 best are lefties. Meyer, Devers, Casas. Montgomery's a switch, but then you got Anthony and Teal, left. Lefties are important for this, for thwarting this team. By the way, they've got Alejandro Kirk, as I did mention, Wilyer Abreu, Trevor Story, and Warming Bernabal as their backups. So 3 righties, and Abreu's also a lefty there. And we know Story, he can still clip one at any moment. He's not quote-unquote Trevor Story anymore. He's definitely a compromised version here, nearing age 35. But we will respect him off the bench against lefties. And he's going to get a lot of pinch hits in this series. The way I see it developing, because we're going to have the lefties ready to go, I don't know necessarily who it's going to be for. If I'm Boston, obviously I'm not pinch hitting Meyer or Devers or probably Casas. So maybe it's more Anthony. Is he a platoon guy? Well, I don't even know if I platoon him. I don't know then. I might amend my statement. We'll see if Story gets those late ABs. Maybe it's for Teal. I don't think so though, because he's also their catcher, right? So you don't have to pinch hit your catcher if they're bringing extra value. So maybe not. We'll see. But we're gonna have the lefties. We're gonna be ready for them. Let's take a look at our roster. I have done a first run offline here, and you can see Bybee's not gonna make it. Painter, Logan Allen, Jaime Arias, Bieber, and Enright not making the roster. Now, the biggest surprise among those is probably Bieber, just because of the name value. But y'all, he had a bad season. 5.43 ERA and 156 WHIP. Okay, I could even forgive that a little bit and say, he's our guy, we can trust him. He's been great for us beyond this. But the extra factor is the lefty piece, because obviously I had studied Boston's lineup before doing this. So I knew about all the lefties. So I already kind of preemptively took Bieber off for another lefty. So I guess the real question is, do we have enough? We have 3 lefties. Do we go 4 lefties, 3 righties? I don't know. It's a 5-game set with, I think with no off days, right? Yeah, so it's 5 straight. So if we go all the way, we will need all 5 pitchers, because I was going to say, could we get away with 4 starters and then turn Bradish into another lefty reliever? So one of the things I was checking last night was I was looking at Pon, Neely specifically, because they are the 2 that would maybe get ousted for another lefty. So I looked at their splits, and they're pretty tight. I mean, Neely is dead even. He has no discernible split. In fact, for some reason, his movement actually, which is a composite of home run and BABIP, actually rates 55 against lefties and 50 against righties, despite the homer being 50 against both and the BABIP being 55 against both. And as we always say, though, these are approximations on the 5s and 0s. There could be a few extra points given there, and that's probably why the lefty movement is 55. Either way, that's what we would want. So regardless of what is causing that, those small extra points, those are positive. So he didn't go anywhere. And then Pon, kind of similar. Actually, not kind of similar, because it's not there's not no platoon split, but there was enough, or there wasn't such a platoon split that I was concerned to take him off. He is markedly better against righties, but he's not incompetent against lefties. The stuff does go down 10 points, but to a 65. I'm fine with that. The homer and BABIP are both 50. Okay, that's a little bit light, but it's not terrible. And then it's 40 control. It is 55 home run and 60 BABIP against righties. So he's like really, really good against righties, but capable against lefties. And that's what I think I need. In fact, this year, interestingly enough, his skills, strikeout minus walk, was virtually equal. 14.4 to 13.9. That's 14% for both, y'all. The decimal is not that important. 0.5 difference in strikeout minus walk ratio is not moving the needle. I wouldn't even have the decimal here, to be honest. So I think we stick with that. Alamon, I was never going to take out, but just to show you the splits. Again, amazing against righties, still very good against lefties. He's kind of a Pon plus, if you will. And then Class A, obviously never coming out, but just to show you those splits. Brilliant, top of the scale against righties, still very excellent against lefties, at least in terms of ratings. So I think that's what we go with. 4 righties, 3 lefties, but our righties can handle lefties, so we don't always have to run to a lefty when things get sketchy late. Because the options would be Logan Allen, who doesn't even have a big platoon split, worth jumping into here. Jaime Arias. I think that's it. Those are the only 2 we could choose. Now Arias does have the split, but then he's so bad against righties that it becomes a little bit nerve-wracking. So I think we got the right guys here. You can sound off if you think we should be going with one of those 2, but I can't get there. Painter as a reliever, I would probably do before one of those 2, to be honest. But again, also not going to go with him. We're sticking with what we got. Then scrolling down further, as far as the hitters, Bo Naylor's not making the roster. Neither Stowers, Rocchio's on the IL. Tena, no thanks. Mooney, no. Antunes, no. Delauder, no. And Jonathan Rodriguez, no. So we got the guys that we played with for the majority of the year. Looking at their pitching again real quick from a righty-lefty breakdown, I didn't see any reason to change things all that much. They've got the 1 lefty starter and the 2 lefty relievers. nothing to contend against there. We have a switch hitter and 3 righties on the bench against right-handers, and then a fourth righty in our catcher. But you save him in case of emergency. And then against lefties, we have a switch left, right, left. So I think we're fine. We're fine. All right. So different setup with playoffs now, just because while I do love playing out all the games, it becomes a lot, especially if we make a long run. And in the interest of managing my time, I'm not able to do that as much. So what we're going to do is we're going to sim a bit. When we're facing elimination, that's when we get in and play it out. Because I don't want to never play things out. I love playing the games. I'm just saying I don't have time to always play every single one. So let's go ahead and get started here with game 1 of the DS, or of the wildcard round. And it will be Buehler v. Castillo, as we would expect. And let's see if we can get a game 1 win. We can. 3-1. Let's go. Varys, our newcomer from the Mets, hits a big homer for us. And he was modest in his 136 plate appearances with us, but I still like his profile enough to make the team, because I didn't really believe that he's a 2% walk rate guy. That's kind of hilarious. Even though he's got a 45 eye, like I know he's not going to walk a ton, but 2%, come on. So I felt like he was just a bit unlucky in his run with us in terms of it being a small sample that wasn't really representative of who he was. Usually when you talk luck, you think BABIP. 323 was fine. That's not where the luck was. What I mean by luck in this instance really is that it's a small sample that would be too harshly judged to say that this is him. So not even like one individual thing is luck or anything like that, but it's an unlucky small sample that does not represent him. But he hits a home run for us in the 3rd inning. It ends up being a nice run. It was we took the lead in the 3rd. They got it tied in the 8th. We get 2 more in the bottom of the 8th, and then we end up winning it. Hall does blow the save, but gets the win. And Matsui, we got to him, but it wasn't via walks. Interestingly enough, it was 3 hits that led to the 2 runs there against against Matsui. Barlow had pitched earlier. All right, so let's go to game 2. And I think I got to get the daily saves on. I had mentioned that last episode and forgot to switch over. Brian Bayo against Sonny Gray. And they win 7-4. Okay, so they bounce back with a nice dub. Sonny Gray clocked, unfortunately. Brian Bayo, nice quality start there. Lonnie White Jr. goes yard, but Casas, Anthony, and Devers all go yard for them. So they salvage one in Cleveland. I don't love that. We now head out to Boston for a pair. We will get Cantillo v. Senga. I like our setup in pretty much every match. As far as the starting pitchers go, I think we have a distinct edge there, but they make up that edge in lineup. Because while I do like our lineup, it's not as strong as theirs. Those lefties, I mean, they've got superstars. We've got good players, but they've got some nastiness. By the way, just looking at these season stats here, Condon hit 7 bombs against them in 52 at-bats, 5 bombs for Lonnie White Jr. in 44 during the regular season when we went 9-4 against them. So that's pretty nuts. All right, Cantillo v. Senga. We got to sim this one, and then we're playing the next one either way because it's a closeout game. And we lose 4-3. Uh-oh. Actually, it's not true. If I had won, we wouldn't have necessarily played it because we're only playing out elimination games right now, which we're about to get into one because Cantillo throws a quality start and actually bests Senga on that front. He went 5 1/3, 3 runs did Senga, but then the bullpen, Pon, gives up the run. Dang it. And that was enough in a 4-3 loss there. Bottom 9th walk-off. Wilyer Abreu with a run-scoring single, a pinch hit for Siri. Damn. That's tough. That's really tough. All right, well, it's time to get into Fenway with Tristan McKenzie and see if we can save our lives. Dang. Life comes at you fast in the playoffs, man. No matter how often I play this game, I will never not be stunned and sort of left gobsmacked when you're just facing elimination that quickly. It's just like, boom, in these 5-game sets, all of a sudden, we're up against it, and now we're fighting for our lives. I can't imagine it in real life for teams that grind for 6 months and then all of a sudden, especially if you lose that first game and you're like, oh God, we didn't even lose that first game though. We won that one, and that's what's really frustrating here. All right, so they're going with Quintana. So we got our lefty lineup. I'm actually going to back out and make sure that it's everything I want here because I have not looked at the lefty lineup in a while. So we are going to start Duran. Edinson Duran is a really good hitter against lefties. He's not a great catcher, but we're going to sacrifice that in a one-game sample because he's not terrible. 50 blocking, 55 frame, 55 arm. In a one-game sample, I don't know that Bailey's edge is... Oh, that's right. Never mind. I forgot. Bailey is no longer a good defensive catcher, y'all. I completely forgot about how that's evaporated. He is still a plus bat, so he has still put up a good WAR this year, but I think we're moving on from Bailey after this season, but that's to deal with later. So Duran's in, Condon, Lewis, Ramirez, Barrero starting at short. I did run the numbers on this here over Jimenez. I know it sounds crazy to not start Jimenez in a closeout game, but if you look at the numbers versus lefties, I think it checks out. The plate skills go to Jimenez, but everything else goes to Barrero. And it's not like the defense is a big edge for Jimenez because it's not an edge at all. Barrero's a defensive stud. So this actually checks out. I think I'm going to stick with this. And then we have Jimenez off the bench. So that's a big piece off the bench there. Kerstead in left, White in center, Veras in right, and Consuegra at DH. Yep, I'm good with all this. We are good to go here. What emails do we have and why? Who's emailing me during the playoffs? Oh, it's about Consuegra. Did he get any scouting? Oh, his gap went down. Oh, wait, that was in July. Never mind. And then what about Barrero? He got a scouting report for some reason. I don't remember when I put in for these. All right, his is fine too. So no updates on either of them. Now we get into game 4. All right, T-Mac, we need you, baby. So the tail of the tape by position, they get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, 3, 1, because there's 10 positions with the 9 hitters and the pitcher. The tie is Condon and Devers. They get Teal, Grissom, Meyer, Anthony, Montgomery, Casas. Fair. We get McKenzie, Lonnie White Jr., Jose Ramirez, and then, like I said, the tie. Okay, fair enough. Afternoon game here in Fenway. Wind blowing in from center at 12 miles an hour. So it's already hard to go deep in center field in this park, but they're just making it even harder today. All right, here we go. Fighting for our lives. Let's do the ceremonial first batter here. J-Ram, get us started, baby. What do you say one time? Ground ball up the middle. Thought maybe it would get through, but Grissom makes the play. 1 down. Let's jump to the 4th. We'll take it a little slow here. And we're down 6-0. Yep, we're in deep trouble. If we don't put up some runs here soon. Oh, the pitcher's getting fatigued. We'll put Missy Ashek in. Boy, oh boy, we've been bandsaw. What is it? Run into a bandsaw? Yeah, we've been bandsawed, y'all. We are in some deep, deep shit. Yeah, McKenzie was cooked. Heron came in and did not stem the tide. Quintana was out after 2/3 of an inning, hurt, but we've been able to do nothing with that. Oh my goodness. I don't root for injury even in a virtual game. Y'all know that. But the idea of like, okay, the starter goes out after 2/3, now's the time to attack, and Middleton and Barlow get them to the 5th inning relatively unscathed. That's brutal for us. All right, let's go to the 7th. All right, 6-1, yeah. This is bad, y'all. This is very bad. All right, well, let's see what we can do here. Let's slow it down. Try to grind out this comeback. Duran strikes out. Jimenez is up now. They must have pinch hit him in at some point, which is fine, obviously. But I don't know what the circumstances of that are. I guess I can just look. Because, yeah, it's been Middleton, Barlow, Iglesias. It's been 3 righties, so they immediately took out Barrero, which I like. I think the computer did the right thing there. Play the heavy platoon, even though I don't have that on there to immediately take him out. But I really don't mind that. Of course, it's academic at this point because we are in so much trouble as Ramirez strikes out to end the 7th. Stretch time here in Fenway, y'all, and it's very bad. Oh, well, Almon's tired now, so we'll go with Pon. And they got 2 outs. 0-2 pitch coming to Rafaela from Pond. He lifts one high to center, but playable, and that'll retire the side. All right, we got 6 outs to give 5 runs. Matt Strahm coming in. Not their best. Gettable, but we need to get in right away here. Like, we need 3 runs this inning to do anything, you know? And even that doesn't really make me super confident for the 9th, but, like, we can't need all 5th in the 9th. Condon rips one into the corner. Okay, that's going to be a little double to get us started. Don't get thrown out. Don't you dare. Okay, thank God. Lewis, 1-0. Ground ball to third. 2 down. Dang it, man. Consuegra, 0-2 pitch. I should have pinch hit him. That's my fault. That's a bad move there, not pinch hitting him. I set you up there, Consuegra. I just was too autopiloting. It should have been Namgung. Let's be honest, that's not going to be the reason, but still frustrating. And they got 2 on, 1 out with Meyer coming up. That's going to drop in. Yeah. It's over, guys. I'm sorry. Not trying to be overly pessimistic and whiny about it. It's, you know, there's being pessimistic and whiny, and then there's being realistic. And I'm trying to be on the realism side. All right, Braden Montgomery, 1-2 pitch. Struck him out. That's 2 down. And now Devers, 1-1. The ball gets away. Wonderful. We love that for us. Oh, Neely's a righty anyway. Never mind. We just let Pond try to finish this because it doesn't matter. There's another base hit. All right, now I'll put in Neely. Okay. I'm not just going to let Pond melt out there. Got to show some respect to our players. All right, Neely, get this last out and get us the hell out of here, bud. And that one's skied to center. So they had 3 more runs. It's 9-1. And we're going to have to be calling 9-1-1 to have any chance here. I don't even know what that means. That doesn't even make sense. What are the police going to do? Give us runs? Varus against Strom. Skied to center. You know that wind's blowing in, hanging that ball up there. 2 down. And it'll be Edinson Duran. And that one is ball game. Wow. So, we get absolutely cumstered and dumpstered here. That was bad. That was bad. That offense was just relentless. I think the most frustrating part is getting the first win. Because it is so crucial in these 5 gamers that you feel really good after you get the first win. So then to immediately just go bang, 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 3 losses in a row is tough. I think the game 3 loss is the one that really stings, and that was Pond. Doesn't mean it's all his fault. It did sound like I was saying that. I fully understand why it might seem like that. I'm just saying that's a tough one. Losing that one late, had to get it tied, or had to take the 2-1 lead there in the series, but we don't, and then McKenzie gets absolutely crushed. And there it is. The season done in a flash. All right, let's see if Baltimore wins a 4th straight. Yankees, Mariners are tied at 2. Everything else is done. Boston wins, Pittsburgh beats the Jacksonville Irish, and the Padres beat the Mets. So the D-backs and Reds are waiting, and the Rangers and Orioles are waiting. We'll do once a month. All right, it's saved since we got ousted. So then if it crashes, we would only lose some playoffs. Wouldn't be the end of the world. I know it just saved, but I'm a chronic saver. I had to do it again. So now any crash from here would be at this juncture, and it wouldn't affect anything we did. I don't want it to crash and have to replay things. I want the original results. But if it happened, we wouldn't be like, oh, all of a sudden it's back to 1-1 and we have a chance to win. No, I'm not in for that. Play it all straight up. All right, so Seattle wins, and it'll be Baltimore, Boston against, and then Seattle, Texas, Cincinnati, San Diego, and Arizona, Pittsburgh. Let's go ahead and see how this plays out. All right, Baltimore cannot be stopped. They gentlemen sweep Boston 4-1. Seattle, meanwhile, from the wild card, gets a 4-2 victory over Texas. They're going to face the Orioles. Can they be the first AL representative in the last 4 years that isn't Baltimore. Meanwhile, the Pittsburgh coming from the wild card as well, they defeat Arizona 4-2, and then Cincinnati, they were with the bye, so they were the 1 or 2 seed. They take 7 to beat San Diego, but they do it. So it's Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Baltimore, Seattle. Pittsburgh, Cincinnati in 2027 will be wild. I don't think it's the most implausible thing ever, though. I know that sounds crazy, but I think both teams have enough of a foundation that sure they would need some things to really break, but it's not the craziest thing in the world. The offense that the Reds have put together with Hunter Green and Lodolo being legit pitchers to build around, and then the Pirates, they're the other way. They've put the pitchers together and they need to start getting some hitters along with Brian Reynolds and O'Neill Cruz. And in 2 years or 3 years, would it be crazy if they were both here? No, it'd be surprising, but it wouldn't be the craziest thing ever. All right, let's follow this series here. The hell, how do you have an intercostal strain when you're not, we're not even playing and this guy's getting hurt. Unbelievable. Okay, I guess I'll put you on the injured list. That's hilarious. They're up 2-1. Can Seattle tie it? They do. Okay. They took the first 2. Seattle took the second 2. Baltimore wins the pivotal game 5, but we want to see if Seattle can win 2 in a row to keep Baltimore out of the World Series for the 40th year in a row. Technically, the 4th, not 40th. They force a game 7. Seattle wins 3-1. Here we go. Game 7. Brian Wu versus Gavin Williams. Oh my God, if our Gavin Williams sends them to the World Series again. Seattle wins 9-2. Oh my God. Gavin Williams gets smoked. We win the trade officially. Locked. No more discussion. We win the trade. Wow. So Seattle comes back and wins the final 2 games. They're going to the World Series and they're going to face the Cincinnati Reds, who took care of the Pirates in 6. They won the first 2. The Pirates won game 3. Then the Reds won 4. 5 for the Pirates and 6 for the Reds. Will Smith, catcher for the Dodgers currently, was the MVP there. All right, so we have a World Series, a very unique World Series too with Seattle, Cincinnati. But again, when you look at the foundation of these two teams, basically Seattle is a more advanced version of Pittsburgh right now in terms of their build. In fact, they're already good, whereas Pittsburgh's kind of on the cusp of competition. So this would not be the craziest thing to see, especially if Cincinnati can build on what they've got. Seattle is already pretty close. Like, they can make a World Series run this year, and it wouldn't be crazy because the pitching is so good. Pair it with a few timely hitters and J-Rod getting back on track, and then all of a sudden, we saw what Texas and Arizona did last year. So let's see how this World Series goes. We'll stick around for this and go game by game. Hunter Brown against Logan Gilbert. Actually, it's going to be Connor Phillips kicking off the series for Cincinnati against George Kirby. So that Brown-Gilbert gets moved. Cincinnati wins the first game. It'll be Brown for Cincinnati, Garrett Whitlock for Seattle. Interesting. Game 2. And that goes to Seattle. Consuegra, who got hurt in the middle of the playoffs when we weren't playing, is back from the IL. Good to know. Seattle wins game 2. Okay, so here we are. Tied at 2. So we'll have the off day, and then we'll see if it stays Whitlock, Abbott. No, they've been moving these pitchers around like crazy. So game 2 ended up being Brown versus, I think, Bryce Miller as a follower. Because I think this Kolek was meant... No, he got hurt. It was supposed to be Stephen Kolek. But I don't really know why. I still think he might have been an opener. And then Miller was... Yeah, I think that was an opener situation. Wow. Okay, so they end up winning that. Now they have Brian Wu against Andrew Abbott. Okay, so 2 current guys that are on these teams squaring off. Game 3 in Cincinnati. Seattle wins, so they're up 2-1. Game 4 will be Garrett Whitlock, Jordan Hicks. Jordan Hicks for Cincinnati, Garrett Whitlock for Seattle. And Cincinnati wins that. So here we go. We got a 3-game set. It's 2-2. Clear the records. It's 3 games for the World Series here. George Kirby, Connor Phillips rematch goes to Cincinnati, 7-1 win. So here they are now on the cusp. They need to win one of the next 2 in Seattle. The first one will be Hunter Brown, Trevor Rogers. Trevor Rogers for Seattle. We'll see if they can win the World Series here. Game 6 in Seattle goes to Seattle. we will have a Game 7, folks. Andrew Abbott, Brian Wu. This is perfect. Game 7 between two upstart teams currently in real life that have now reached the pinnacle and have two guys from their current team. I love this. So let's see how Game 7 goes to win the World Series. Seattle wins 5-1. Wow, they were the comeback kids. They really, really battled here. First against Baltimore in that CS, and then here in the World Series against Seattle to win the last two, to win the World Series. Brandon Lau, World Series MVP in 2027. That would be more shocking than anything else we've seen. And not as like a dig at Brandon Lau, but really because of where his body's been. Like, he's been piling up the injuries. So it'd be cool to see this, like, okay, he gets healthy and becomes a contributor, although he wasn't even really a big contributor for them. They traded for him from Toronto, and he was solid, but then chose the playoffs to get hottest, and really became a trade acquisition for the ages. J-Rod had 2 homers in the World Series, so he was doing his part too. Harry Ford didn't quite have a huge season, but still with the brilliant defense was able to put up 2.5 WAR, and then did some things in the playoffs. So there you go. The Seattle Mariners win the World Series. It is no longer the Orioles' world. Let's let them get their little trophy here. Boom, there you go. Hunk of metal, or whatever the hell Manfred called it. All right, so we got some international free agents here. Let's see if there's anybody good. Okay, that's like a prospect. Oh, wait, these are the amateurs. Sorry. I thought this was like the established guy. No, this is the international amateur free agents. Okay, here's what happened to Consuegra. The injury occurred when he did one too many BMX bike tricks. Okay, I love that stuff. I was wondering how he got hurt. Oh, thank you again to the computer for running this for me, the international. So we saw this last time where they didn't keep the guys. They did do a scout, but then they didn't keep anybody. And that part is weird to me. Like, why did they keep them on the list? So I'll get that set up for the second one. No problem with that. I forget that it's in October. The first one should just be in November. It's so annoying when you're in the playoffs and you forget to do that, but I should just be less of a dumbass, I guess. All right, I guess the last thing we could do for this episode is at least click one more day to officially kick off the offseason and see what kind of score we got and see what sort of, info we might get. Actually, you know what? I'm going to save that because nobody really cares about my game score, I don't think. So I don't think that... I'm going to show it. I'm going to show it, but I'm not going to go into any of the emails, even if there's some juicy ones in there, because that has to be the beginning of the next episode, the off-season setup. So we'll see the score. I'll let y'all see that, but everything else has to be for next step. Give me a good score. Not that anybody cares. Basically, it's like, just don't get fired. Okay, this is taking a long time, and it's not even like doing anything up at the top. Okay, here we go now. Gabe Kapler's in the cut. I like how it just said Gabe Kapler. All right, we got a fantastic score. Cool, and I appreciate that. Astronomical score. You're an OOTP genius. Yes. I know, but it's frustrating. Ooh, we've got some personnel leaving, y'all. That's probably the biggest news here. They got the budget. Namgung executes his contract option. That's fine. We have an option on Class A. We'll deal with that. Nothing too ominous here, except, if this personnel is the scout. That would be the one thing that's bad. But that's usually, the scouts usually retire. They don't usually leave. So maybe that'll be good, but we'll see. Anyway, y'all, thank you guys so much for watching. Sorry about the disappointing season. I feel like we did really well in the regular season. We just came up short in the playoffs because that's how the playoffs work. We do have some things to do, though. I still think we're chasing Baltimore, but you can throw Boston in there too, because now they beat us. They're on the list. Those are the two teams we're chasing, and they're both just better than us by a little bit right now. So we need to find where we can make some improvements. I think the offense is a little top heavy. It can get a little bit stronger. And then the pitching is actually going to have to be reworked because Gray's gone, Bieber's gone. We'll see if any of these other guys are gone, but we've got some work to do this offseason. We will get that started next episode, but thank you all so much for watching. Peace.